What is going on? It is Wednesday late night takes on Heavy Pour Sports. And it's NBA playoff time. We got Kentucky basketball, post message to the fan base. Tennessee lands another one. But before we get into it, introduce everybody on the show. You know them. We got AKA the Golden Shower, AKA Puddin' Pop, but we all know him as the Irish Hammer On. We have Drew, which stands 6 foot, 6'2" if you include the hair, and special guest Tristan Pharis of Kentucky Insider. Thank you for joining us, man. I appreciate it. But gentlemen, how y'all doing tonight?
I think we need to quantitate some of the stuff that you said about me in there.
Show. You said on the show. I just, I was like, I wanted to give you your proper intro. I thought that was a good one. I've been working on that all day.
That's what you came up with?
Yeah, and it looks like I wanted to give T his intro, but looks like Charmin is still kind of pissed off at him as they're working the internet. So, Tristan, I'll send you the clip of that. But we have our last calls on Saturday, so it's our happy hour show. So we get done with our show. We put our last call, a thing that like bothers us the most for the week or maybe for a while. And T had an issue with this extra roll, Charmin math and whatnot. And right when he got done with his rant on toilet paper rolls and how they advertise it, he got cut, whole power shut off. So it sounds like he got personally attacked.
Inside job.
Yeah. But Drew, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. Back in St. Louis, school year done at Kentucky. So back in St. Louis hanging out, went out to dinner with my parents, which was cool. So yeah, just feels good to be back home, I guess.
Did you go to Pappy's Smokehouse?
I did not. But I got to make a trip while I'm back home this summer, though.
It's the jam.
But T, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. We're just, still gearing up for fire season, man. We're about to be busy, but for now, we're chilling, just prepping.
I'm about to be living your life next week. I gotta go TAD business trip, essentially to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and it is gonna be miserable. 3 days in misery, out there doing God knows what, but it'll be out there to work. It ain't even worth the per diem for me, bro. It's just like it just messes up my routine. All the time change from Cali out here, but hey, gotta do it. What you gotta do? Law Enforcement Working Group, which is fancy for a bunch of MPs to gather together and just talk about stuff.
Yes. whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of out there telling everybody about why their job sucks at the moment. So what we do as Marines, we bitch about stuff and we're good at it. But Tristan, man, I appreciate it. You coming on, like I said before. We'll get into Kentucky hoops. Are you an NBA guy? You follow the league very much?
Oh, yeah. Probably not as much the last few years. But growing up, like the Tayshaun Pistons teams, the Rondo Celtics teams, him battling in the Eastern Conference was fun to watch. Then obviously LeBron had his stretch of, I can't remember how into that, how tough the T-Mac. It's hard for me. Like that was my glory years of the NBA, just because I kept up with more. I think college basketball just fits me better. That's my guy right now. Just his athleticism, the way he talks and conducts himself off the great. So, hopefully they can beat the Spurs.
Well, you missed it. You mentioned the Pistons, and first round, I'm still bitter about because, 3-1 lead. I'm a Magic fan. Had the chance. Mosley could have saved his job. He was already on the hot seat. Could have saved his job. Ends up getting fired because he was 2 quarters away and with a 22-point lead and couldn't put away the Pistons because Tobias Harris decides to
right there.
Dunk. Oh my! Is that what it says? This Tobias Harris sucks. All right, he continues to piss me off.
Don't talk about your former Magic like that.
He was playing like it was a 2016 revenge game after he got traded. But yeah, just nothing all series long. Then he drops consistent 30 on us back-to-back games, and he's still playing well.
Tristan, I'm all about you being about the Pistons because they got 2 Vols, and Chaz even scored a couple points. So yeah, I'm
like teams that like they've gone through it for a little. Kind of see him coming out with K Cunningham. I don't, yeah, like the he did in early 2010. Like the Thunder, I know it like Al Bates and stuff, but I mean they built that team from just smart moves. So I have no problem with it as long as they do it the right way.
Presti has to be a top 3 GM ever, right? I mean, and I think Randall, you might even have mentioned this like a year ago, but this is iteration number 2. Like attempt number 1 was Durant, Westbrook, and Harden. We got close. We got to the finals. Didn't quite work. We rebuilt it, and now we won the finals. And it doesn't look like we're about to be missing the finals anytime soon because they got a lottery pick coming up. It's insane.
Yeah, and that lottery pick very might well be Nate Ament if they're smart. If he gets to that 11 pick, man, and that's a perfect spot for him.
I agree.
Because then you can go ahead and trade away Chet Holmgren in that massive contract and just let Nate Ament do his thing. He's still a dude. I know he played well in the first round. I still don't understand the whole Chet Holmgren love. I think he's awkward, and I think they would just be just fine without him. But
he's a baller, man. I am with you in the I can't stand him. I do not like him at all, but dude can hoop, man, and he's 7'2", so like you can't teach height.
And he's athletic, super athletic.
Yeah.
Super, it might be aggressive.
Well, for his size though, like he's got bounce. He can move vertically, laterally.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Plus, he's super crazy. Like, stop posting videos.
He is so
yeah, he's cringy.
I'm just hating on him. But we Drew and I were talking before the show started, and it seems like really a 2-horse race. I think the Sixers. I was cheering for them against the Knicks, but they just don't have it. They had a pretty good game today, and still weren't able to pull it out. The Knicks are just too good. And then on the other side, OKC, this Lakers series is going to be quick. It might get 5 games. It might be a gentleman's sweep. I don't see, unless the Timberwolves, if they win tonight, if they go on a little bit of a run and they get out, they might be able to give something to OKC just because Anthony Edwards and that team is good. And Anthony Edwards just getting back healthy. They still got scores. So that they might be able to do something with OKC, but I really see this as a 2-horse race. OKC, the Knicks, and the finals. And if you're the NBA, you want the Knicks to get to the finals finally, right? I mean, that's a cash cow.
Oh yeah, because you've got the dynasty is building in one of the smallest TV markets in the league, in Oklahoma City, and the Spurs aren't too far behind them in television market. So if they end up. Either of those teams end up with, a spot in the finals, they're going to need New York to draw some ratings because ratings are sky high right now. Viewership is the highest it's been in probably 30 years. So it's kind of unfortunately, kind of a detriment to TV revenue when you've got those small market teams going this late in the season.
Yeah, I agree. I also think the Spurs could give the Thunder some trouble, but I think the Spurs are probably a year or two away from legitimately knocking on that door of like competing for an NBA championship. I mean, they still have some youth, they have some experience, but I don't know. They seem like a team that's still like 1, maybe 2 years, maybe one piece away from compete with the Thunder because the Thunder are just loaded. I mean, their 10th, 11th guy would play probably anywhere else in the league. So it's unique, but I think the Spurs are good, but Minnesota's really good too. Their 1 through 5 is just as good as really anybody in the league. So, but the Thunder, the depth and just the success that they've had over the last few years, like it's hard to compete against that. And now that they won a championship last year, like they've been there before. And so all these things going to the NBA playoffs, it just seems like the Thunder head above heels above everybody. And then the Knicks, they've been knocking on the door, and now it seems like it's kind of their time to hopefully or potentially actually reach the NBA Finals and compete for a ring.
Well, it's definitely the easiest path they've had
Mhm.
in going on 30 years. I think 99 is the last time they made it. So it's been very long time. And this is kind of they got to do it this year.
Well, and they're actually good enough now to compete. Like,
Yeah.
Carl
Anthony Towns is playing just amazing basketball right now.
And Brunson, I mean, we know what Brunson is.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
They got the two long athletic guys in Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. So, I mean, they're good enough to win it. It's just really the question with the Knicks the last 2 years is like, why don't they win it? I mean, the Celtics were obviously really good, but they're out now. And the Bucks were competing for a long time. But now that, Halliburton's down and all these guys in the East is wide open for them to win. If they don't win the Eastern Conference, and that's 100% on them, not or I guess just a team playing well and taking it from them.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Philly though. They look really tired and old, especially Embiid in game one, and then he's hurt again. Surprise, surprise. And I think they've just got too much for him. Now, the Pistons match up, I think, much better with the Knicks than what the Sixers do, especially without Embiid. And I think on the other side we saw the Timberwolves kind of. I mean, I think it was an upset. It was a surprise to see them knock out Denver, but the way Rudy Gobert just absolutely contained and shut down Joker.
Yes,
they're built to compete with
Wemby.
the Spurs.
Yeah,
they're built to compete with the Spurs. I don't think they compete and match up as well with the Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
No,
we've already
I
seen
agree.
it the last few years too. Like OKC's really, I mean, I think they played last year in the playoffs, and if I'm not wrong, the Thunder beat him in like 5 or 6, maybe, or maybe it was the year before that. I can't remember, but I don't know. I mean, it's going to be tough for anybody to beat the Thunder. I mean, the West, there's more teams and options to beat them than like the Knicks in the East. But I mean, they're still going to have to play 4 perfect games pretty much to knock the Thunder out.
Yeah, and this Knicks roster was kind of assembled and built to take out the Celtics, right? Mm-hmm. So who knows what's going to happen not really when they move on and they've got to get probably through Detroit to get to the finals, and then I mean take your pick. The three-headed beast in the West right now. I don't know how the Knicks match up with any 3 of those teams.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it's Knicks and OKC in the finals. I think that would be a good series. And the other thing OKC has slept on, we talked about this a few times last playoff series, their home court advantage I think is slept on too. Like that place gets to rocking in OKC. And that's you've been there, T, right? Haven't you been in that arena?
No.
I thought you said you'd been there before.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, but it was. I mean, what else is there to do in OKC than to go watch a team play the finals, right? I think it's packed out.
Speaking of Spurs, the way they that arena a few weeks ago, I wish Kentucky could do something like that. That was.
It was good.
Keep putting your boosters in the seats so they're nice and quiet. That's what.
All you gotta do is, I mean, and we would have some weirdo fans who would get bent out of shape about it. They have their lucky shirt or whatever. All you had to do is lay shirts down the seats and just like put this thing on, man.
That's the one thing. Like Kentucky, they have the money. I can't remember the last time they had a T-shirt. Like go around the SEC game, come up with 21,000 T-shirts, but like you could really.
Yeah. Tristan, I don't know. We might have to reconnect your mic. It just been cutting out a couple times just to kind of give you a heads up. But I mean, I was at the Georgia game, Georgia football game last season, and they filled that entire football arena with Tim Couch towels. Like they got the money to do the thing. But they just kind of choose not to. And I think it's more of a pride thing. Tristan, you might be able to talk to this. Is like, we don't do the T-shirt game thing, right? We're Kentucky. We don't do that. But it's kind of like the blackout game against, everybody got pissed off. We did the blackout game against Vandy. It's like, Vandy was kind of on the come up, and at the end of the Stoops era, you probably should do anything to get people in the seats, right? So if we're calling for a blackout game, let's do something exciting for the fan base. Who cares who you're playing? It's just something new.
Well, you probably should do it against a team that wears black is the thing.
That's true.
That's probably a good point. That's maybe we consider that. Again, that's why I don't do the planning thing. But what were you saying, Drew?
I was going to say this, and this people might get mad at me, but as Kentucky fans, we can't do the whole sunshine pump running tracks around. Like if people are doing T-shirt nights when Kentucky comes to town, and then taking the victory laps for that, but then we won a T-shirt night at Rupp Arena. So you get what I'm saying with that? Like, I would love for us to have T-shirt nights, but then also like half of our fans can't go the whole victory of, oh, it's your Super Bowl. You have T-shirt night when Kentucky comes to town. I mean, yeah, they probably will have T-shirt night when Kentucky comes to town, but we don't need to make it as big of a deal as sometimes we do on social media. That's kind of all I would say about that. But I would love to have a T-shirt night in Rupp Arena or multiple throughout the year because I think it'd be cool.
I'm excited to see what Stein does with the football atmosphere this year.
Yeah, and he's excellent
breathing
right now.
It definitely seems like he's breathing life into BBN football for sure. So.
And just because the fan bases are so different, like you have to have thousands to get season tickets to go to Rupp. You can get away with a few hundred to get the season tickets to go to Kroger Field. So I just think it's kind of two different markets. So.
Yeah, the Kroger Field atmosphere and the in-game, music and all those kinds of things, like that stuff definitely needs to be retooled because, I mean, I went to multiple games last year and it's not like terrible, but it's nothing that's like must see or like something crazy where like the fan base gets into it. Like they need to. Because Kroger Field's unique. I mean, it's a smaller stadium, but we talked about it on Saturday, Rando. Like, it can get kind of crazy in there. And especially when some dudes come into town.
Krog at night is electric. I mean, I know there's some things with the sound system and whatnot, but I have not been to a sporting event better, especially because it was close, again, than Georgia, Kentucky, Saturday night when I was there. I mean, it was phenomenal. And, I mean, when that pick six happened that ended up getting called back, I mean, there's no roof, but like the roof popped off the damn stadium. It was insane. That place was awesome. And
I was going to say,
you can sneak a plastic bottle. The dudes in checking tickets don't care, chopping it up. You got bottles in the boots. You got bourbon flowing. Everybody's having a great time. Stein time in the bluegrass, as they say, this year is gonna be a good time. I had to we're talking football, so I had to change the hat.
And smaller stadiums can become more fun too. Like you see it with some of the small basketball arenas, like those places are lit because the smaller compared to other, venues, like that's the thing with Rupp. It's so big that like it's hard to get everybody engaged on a nightly basis for every single game. Now you get the big Rupp crowds like 4 games a year, and those are one of one, but at Kroger Field, like if you have success and you do a good job of like different things in the stadium and chants and whatnot, like Kroger Field could become a unique place to play as a smaller stadium because it's small. You can get a unique environment in there and it could become dangerous. I mean, obviously it's not as big as Neyland. Neyland's huge, or Tiger Stadium with LSU, or Bryant-Denny with Alabama, but you could create a fun, crazy, unique environment at Kroger Field, and hopefully they do that in the next year, the next upcoming years, as Stein continues to hopefully build this thing.
It's still SEC football, right? Like, I mean, we're gonna poke fun at y'all and stuff because you're Kentucky, but like it's SEC football, and even at a basketball school, you're gonna have enough people where football matters. They'll bring the rain, they'll bring the energy. So yeah, I mean, even when I got to go stand in Crow. It's a cool stadium to be in, and like to see it from the field, I thought it was cool. What's up, Whiskey?
Yeah, what's up, Whiskey? Talking about small stadiums, Drew. I've got a little list of bucket list places I want to see a sporting event. I added one this season, and that's Grand Canyon. I want to see a basketball game Grand Canyon because they're nuts.
Yeah.
The energy they have pregame and just throughout the game, it is insane environment. I've got to figure out a way to go to a game at Grand Canyon.
Have y'all seen that school, Taylor University? They're famous for doing like that silent night thing.
Yeah.
That was one of my schools on recruiting, so I went to that game. And it's like it's a little small, tiny little Christian school in northern Indiana, but at least that particular game, they get rowdy up in there for sure.
It's also crazy how they can keep that many, even though it's not 20,000 people in that gym. It's crazy that they can keep all those people silent until they score. Like that's dedication.
Particularly the first time, like the very first time you did it, how did you get everybody to lock in on that? Like that's
there wasn't anybody there.
You're probably right.
And I mean it'll have to be years and years and years for Krog to ever get to Neyland at night or Death Valley at night, but it can absolutely be.
That's not gonna happen.
That's not gonna happen.
Come on.
I'm just saying, I'm not comparing to that, but like it can be an electric environment, and we've seen when teams come to Georgia, LSU a few years back, like we do have a home field advantage in Krog when we show up and we're excited for a football game.
But we're hyping that Ole Miss game.
Well, the biggest thing with it is Kentucky's got to be good. I mean, if they're not good and they're not having success, like then we're just talking BS. Like you got to be good and be in competitive standings and have some wins and be in a conversation to be able to do that stuff. If you're 3-7 in week 11, like nobody's going to show up and be rowdy or anything. I mean, winning. We always say winning helps everything, but winning also helps build everything and build the environment and fan base and all those things as well. So
I also think Kentucky would be benefited by just like hiring like a third party that just prioritizes events, because the same game, it's the same scripted moments on the camera. Like nobody wants to watch the food cam 5 times a game. Like I think the booster, at least representing the booster part, that's probably never going to be improved. Just that's the nature of Kentucky basketball and fundraising. But just making it an event and not just a game would be something that I would hope whoever the next athletic director kind of puts some funding into.
That's what I was going to say is I know you got some pull, Tristan. I need you to pull some strings with new AD come in. You need to be like, and it just mentioned right here in the chat, Cameron Indoor, like these places, we need to just piss off the old people. They'll get over it in a few years and we start winning, but we need to line up with just fans losing their mind. Eruption zone needs to go all the way around the court. And I want it's obnoxious because we can't do it, but I want like fans like tickling players and stuff like they do.
That's the one I don't see it ever happening, but it would be cool to see them move the eruption zone to just one sideline. Even if you couldn't do both sidelines, just do maybe the behind the first 5 rows. Like that would be I think that would improve the atmosphere quite a bit.
Yeah, that would be nice. It was the last question I sent you, but we'll start there since we're talking about it. It just came out that we got an update. I think it was Luckett posted something. I didn't get to see a lot of it because I don't get the KSR Plus, but there was an update on the AD search, and there's like 4 different options that I guess are going to be laid out there. Do you have any insight into when we might see a hire or when we might get some more traction on who we're interviewing, who we're getting close? And I know there's 2 names tied to Kentucky right now that we know of. But how do you think that AD/GM search pans out as we get into football season here relatively soon?
Yeah, so I think there was some like steady news for like a week or 2, and then the governor and the whole golden parachute situation kind of slowed everything down for a little bit. So I think once that cools off, I guess probably in a week or 2, I think those talks will probably heat back up and stuff. But I think that's a situation that like Barnhart's not going anywhere till the end of June, and so I don't see like any substantial public movement until late May, early June. But I think they kind of had the hope of getting somebody in place. And I seen where the Herald Leader put something out the other day about having like a 2-headed AD, and that's kind of, I'm not going to say I hate or I love the idea or hate the idea, but it's interesting in terms of the aspect of like Jeremiah Dickey, who's a great fundraising guy. He was actually I didn't really hear his name connected to Kentucky, but when I was doing my research about like who would I want Kentucky to be, you got to be able to raise money in this age of college sports. And so Jeremiah Dickey was like, "This guy's doing great things at Boise State. Like, I wonder what Kentucky could do there." So I was glad to hear that name finally connected. But you also got to, I think, if they do the two-headed kind of deal, you're going to get somebody with some connection to Barnhart and kind of the old. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, as long as it's enough new blood to like, okay, Barnhart did this, but this isn't the way anymore. As long as they can kind of keep the values, that's fine, but you just can't have those old, put your foot in the ground kind of stances on some things.
Yeah. Anytime he's tied to the old regime, it makes me nervous. Also, when you have a two-headed monster like that, I think it has to be very clear on like what your job is and what your job isn't, and the same for the other side, right? Because you don't, and you almost kind of have to hire them together and hope those personalities clash, because they can just get dangerous, right? If I got my view is money, but also I kind of want to peek over into maybe GM or roster construction, or hey. Actually, I don't think this player is worth that money. I raise it. I don't know how exactly it would work, but I guess if you had a clear distinction between AD and GM, I would really like to see basketball and football, if we could have the money structure to each have a GM and understand that, and then one overarching AD who controls all of that. And my last question on that, though, is I'm pretty sure it's been said that Mitch Barnhart not going to be directly involved in the hiring process, right? I don't think his thumbprint's going to be very he's not going to be pressed hard on who they bring in or who they hire. So is it going to be mostly Jacob Tammy and Champion Blue who does it hire, or who's going to be the one spearheading it?
Yeah, I would expect Champions Blue, just because that's who's going to be working with them day in, day out. And I think Barnhart, I think he kind of has a sour taste in his mouth. I don't think he was necessarily ready to go this year, for one. And then two, kind of the way the last few weeks have unfolded, I don't think he's got the best ending. And I think Barnhart, like, he well deserves a lot of the criticism he's got, especially since COVID. But he did do a lot of good things for Kentucky. But as far as the lifetime contracts, and you want to go down that hole, that he definitely deserves his criticism for those. But I do think that, Champions Blue and the LLC throws kind of, Kentucky's the only athletic department operating like that right now. So that kind of throws a different perspective in how Kentucky's going to look to fill that position, just because it's a business at this point. I mean, quite literally, legally, that no other athletic department is doing. And you got to make sure that you got somebody in there, at least if they do the two-headed way, that they understand business to a T, because as an LLC, if you're not making money, you're losing money, you're going to go in the hole. And that's not something I'd like to see UK athletics go in that direction.
Yeah, and the LLC worked to our advantage when it came to the Stoops contract, right? It became a line item. You could spread it over time. And also, he agreed to take it over time, which was nice. But that became easier to digest, right? I will say I like the LLC. I like that we were ahead of the game in some things with NIL and some of the potential legal things that are going to happen later on. But also, like, everything I see out of Kentucky is like we're trying to be on the edge and innovative and whatnot. It's like, dog, how about we just do things the way that we know how they work? Like, just we can stay, like, some things in college basketball just work, and you don't have to always try to be like the lead, the one out in front to change it, because it didn't necessarily work last year as far in basketball. So, but we shall see if it ends up working out. And was it the house that has to pay? I'm not even going to even try to explain.
It's a whole process.
Yeah. But Drew, you had any questions on the AD at all? Pretty much covered.
No, I think you hit it all. I think we're all in the same boat of, like, I think as Kentucky fans, media, whatever you want to say, like, we're all ready for something new and, just something different to bring in a new life. Because obviously what's been going on in Kentucky sports really the last 6 years is not necessarily up to standard or really even, just not really successful as we would all hope. So like Tristan said, I don't really love or hate the idea of the 2 AD system, but I don't know. I mean, I'm just ready for somebody new to get in the door and hopefully change some things, change some ideas, and bring something unique and fun, and hopefully get Kentucky sports back to thriving.
I think the biggest thing.
Who are they gonna have to buy out next year?
He's talking about Pope.
I got to get some buyouts.
Listen, if you don't know, Hardball jumps in here quite often. He's a good troll. We enjoy him. Yeah, he's talking about another buyout for Mark Pope. We gonna be all right. We're gonna figure it out. Yeah. Yeah, win games like you said, Drew. It'll all kind of figure itself out. You got to hire that AD's got to be the right hire. And Jacob Tamme so far has proven that he's competent, and I think he knows what he's doing, at least from my perspective. So I'll put some trust in him, along with his board, that they'll get it figured out. But also in that realm of leadership positions that are new to Kentucky, I think some fans got it confused, thinking that Keegan Brown was going to be that basketball GM. He's not. He's more of a roster construction guy. But as we've gone through this portal process, I've struggled bouncing, because when he got hired, everybody was super excited, right? He was with Pope at BYU. The rosters were constructed well. Pope exceeded expectations year one and kind of build on from there at BYU. So I struggle with, has Keegan Brown hindered some of the stuff in the portal, or is he being the guy that Pope needs and we expect him to be as like the no guy and using this drop back HQ tool and be like, listen, I know you want this dude, but we're not paying this much money for him. It's just not worth it. Do you have any insight on like what Keegan Brown's role is? Is he kind of holding the reins back on Pope in a good way? Or do you think it's just not working? That hire is just not working yet?
So I think because the Kentucky staff went pretty quiet as soon as the season ended, but from what I can gather with Keegan is he's not the guy that's going to be your guy in negotiations. It's closing these deals. He's this guy that's like, this guy's worth this amount of money. He fits your system. He does this really well. He's the analytics guy, the numbers guy that just puts players in front of you. The past few years, there's been a kind of a collection of guys that did that, like Matt Santoro. He's the kind of guy in the back scene, in the background, that does a lot of analytic work. I think he got a bump up last year. So Santoro's kind of been a guy, and then there's a group of them. But Keegan's he's just been plugging away analytics and getting a list for Pope and the guys to look at. As far as negotiations, I think that's where Kentucky, I mean, it's clear that's where they're struggling. And they don't really have anybody on the staff that has that experience. You were hoping to get a GM, because I know when Keegan was hired, someone around the program said they could still get a GM. And I think that's still needed in terms of the financial aspect, just because, I mean, Mark Pope said it in his video today, Kentucky's being used for NIL. It's been clear to us. It's clear to him. So if that's the case, why is that still a problem? We need that's been a problem since he's got here. That was a problem when Cal was here. So at some point to fix the problem, you got to go get the solution, and that's going to be a guy that has had these business dealings with the agents and players. And Kentucky has a number of guys that have front office experience with that kind of stuff. It's just I think he's going to be pushed to kind of do it this next upcoming year if the season at least gets to a point where another return is there. I know you guys are laughing about it at the bottom, but yeah, I mean, at some point, you can't just sit there and like, oh, why is this happening to me, and not do anything about it.
To that point, Tristan, I completely agree. I was talking in group chats with people when the whole Rob Wright thing happened, and people were like, oh, well, Kentucky just got outbid or they got out leveraged or whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's a problem. I mean, first off, like, it was to BYU. Pope has, I mean, he used to coach there. He has plenty of connections at BYU. That's got to be a situation where he reaches out to people that he knows around BYU or just people in Utah that could help find information to not put yourself in that potential bidding war or negotiation spot if you knew exactly what Rob Wright was doing. Now, it's a hard thing to judge because maybe Rob Wright was saying all the right things to Kentucky. Oh, I want to get recruited here. I want to come on a visit. Like, I'm serious about entertaining Kentucky. But my biggest gripe was just early, we kind of heard, I know Jeff Goodman put the report like, oh, if Kentucky screws, or if it's Kentucky's a lose. I mean, the only way they miss out on him is if they screw up. But then very quickly you heard, like, I think he's headed back to BYU and blah, blah, blah. And for the next 24 hours from that period until Rob Wright committed, you heard these things, and it seemed like Kentucky was still pursuing. I mean, if you're Pope and staff, you got to understand those things and not get put in those situations. Because number one, it's a terrible look for you being in that situation and position. But number two, you're also wasting time and resources that you could be putting elsewhere that also falls, that hinders you with other guys. So they need to figure out the entire structure of what they're doing recruiting. And hopefully, I mean, this is the third offseason, but hopefully, like with the way that this offseason's turned, if Pope stays here, like it's got to get fixed for next year.
And that specific situation, like you touched on how it affected other people, they had to go back to Zoom and pay him a little bit more because of that situation. So, I mean, it cost you a little bit of money. And then I think the most recent is Marcio Santos. Like, you don't fly to Israel if you don't think you're getting that guy. And I think that's just kind of been Pope didn't come to Kentucky with a lot of experience recruiting those top guys. So, I mean, he's learning on the job in terms of that aspect. The X and O's are one thing, and I know we brought Alvin Brooks and Jason Hart to kind of help that. This past year, they were abysmal in that category. But just getting a better read on recruitments. I think Mo Williams will help with that a little bit just because of his grassroots connections and just being able to relate with players a little bit more. I'm curious who they hire in that second assistant spot, though. If they go, I think they were looking for somebody with kind of a defensive feel for it, but I think you also got to get somebody that understands recruiting, just because right now I know Mikhail's doing a lot of the recruiting work and stuff, and he's been great. I don't think Kentucky keeps him long term, even if Mark Pope stays, just because I think he's going to be a head coach somewhere. But I think you gotta make sure that you're putting the person around you to be successful, and I just don't think Mark Pope's done that to this point.
That's a good point about the that Pope's never been in this before. I mean, we got to remember he coached at Utah Valley and BYU, and everybody likes to look at BYU of what they are now. But BYU could that have been Pope, or is it the changing landscape of what happened? But he's never at all been in a spot of what Kentucky possesses as a coach and in the recruiting and those things. So it's unfortunate that you really don't get 3 or 4 years to just learn at Kentucky. I mean, you're expected to be great immediately and long-term if you're the head coach at Kentucky, but it's just unfortunate that now, I mean, we're 3 off seasons in, and the first off season, I kind of don't pay attention too much. I mean, he had tough circumstances when he got the job and just Cal leaving and those things, but the last 2 off seasons definitely, and then the recruiting cycle as well, like, it's a little underwhelming, but, he's never been in this territory before. He's never recruited 5-star prospects, never really had high NBA draft picks. So he's in a unique situation. That's really what it's all about.
Meanwhile, the Tennessee guys down there, they're like, what are you all struggling in the transfer portal? What?
Yeah, they're absolutely crushing it in Tennessee. But so I guess, yeah, we'll see. I mean, we were talking the same talk last year, but Rick Barnes doesn't have a GM.
Hammer and I are pretty level-headed, so we're super excited about it and all that. But I think we're both of the mindset like, hey, it looks great on paper. We still got to play the game on the court. So it's enough to give us some time to be happy and gloat and dangle it over Kentucky. But we know in the end we still got to play it.
The offense looks like it's going to be much better for you guys. Like, that's been your all's, like, I mean, your defense has been great. It's just you all play some games that you can't get over 60, and that's been your offense looks like it's going to be better this year.
Yeah. I don't know how they're going to mesh because everybody was like a primary scorer, but right now you can just give the ball to anybody from 1 to 4, and you're going to be okay. This might be me with my blinders on as a fan. It just year one, it wasn't. We didn't hear anything about Pope whiffs, right? It seemed like everybody he got or he wanted, he got some big names. You got a dude who went to the Final Four. You beat a bunch of blue bloods for Kobe Brea. You pull some diamonds in the rough in Amari and Ortega. And last year he seemed to be cooking. There were some misses. I think the biggest miss was not being able to replace a Caden Lewis, which when J-Lo went down was the reason why the offense kind of stalled. And then this year, I know it seems real bad, but if you do believe that Kentucky was being used to increase NIL for everybody else, then all the players we were connected to, were really connected to. And some of them that we were in deep talks with. Now, the ones that came on campus, you can't deny those. And I think the Rancic, the way they manipulated that and didn't sign Freeman was obviously like that's just a miss. But then you get McBride, and I think there's some other things that you can really look at the roster and go, they're not big names, but they were pretty highly ranked in the portal. And right now we have a good baseline. What we're not is we didn't have like that splash guy yet, which is really what's frustrating, Big Blue Nation. But this potential is still out there. There's going to be folks who drop out of the NBA draft. There's some Euro guys. To close out kind of the roster before we get to Pope's couple videos, it obviously very, very much looks bad. You go out there, you fly to Israel, you don't get the guy, and then it comes out, if you believe screenshot text messages, that he was already committed to LSU. So like Pope's flying out there for what reason? In my mind, the way that they've kind of been playing games with the fan base and media is, yes, he went out there to see that dude, but the prize was actually somebody else in one of the other 4 countries that he visited. Tristan, do you believe that, or do you think, man, we went there and really screwed the pooch again and didn't get a center that Pope really wanted?
I'm not gonna believe the screenshots. I talked to his agent. I'm not gonna believe the screenshots. So maybe the guy made it. Maybe they're real. I'm just not gonna believe it based on my conversations. But you kind of talk about the whiffs, and I think that's you kind of go back to Keegan a little bit. There's been a couple guys where Kentucky could have gotten and probably would have gotten last year, but Keegan is like, Mark, you're trying to beat this narrative of you're not overpaying guys. You can't overpay for Donnie Freeman, a guy that's missed 28 games. Even though he was high on Kentucky's list, you wanted him. That's a miss, but Kentucky's not going to overpay. Marcio Santos, he's worth this much money. LSU wants to offer this in this role. We're not going to offer that to him. So I think that's the one thing I've it's been frustrating to see Kentucky miss on some of the guys that they have ranked. It's obviously not gone according to plan, but I at least kind of go back to the fact that he's not overpaying guys or not overpromising roles. And I think that's a big thing is if this does go into year 4, you're setting a precedent now that you're not going to do it. So and you go back to some of the pieces, I think you could make a pretty good case. Kentucky's I know Jalen Lowe was hurt and Jaden Quaitman's hurt, but let's say all these guys that played the majority of the minutes last year, you've upgraded in several positions. I think my biggest question now is you're asking for jumps out of Cam Williams and Braden Hawthorne that I think are capable of doing it. They just haven't shown it. And I think one thing to look at is Evan Maya. We had a conversation with him in my Discord the other day, and he mentioned, just to put some perspective, Malachi Moreno had been the 4th ranked transfer in the portal this year. You're getting frustrated at missing on some of these guys, but if you put things in that perspective, Cam Williams would have probably been a top 50 transfer. Braden Hawthorne maybe top 75, top 100. So if you put in those are a couple pieces that you retained, and you kind of pair those up with Zoom Diallo, who's a top 30 transfer, Alex Wilkins, who's a top 30 transfer. It's not as bad as the optics may make it seem. It's just you haven't got your Otega Owe, your all SEC guy, like you mentioned, and they may not. I mean, that's kind of the situation Kentucky's in. You're hoping they can pull a rabbit out of their hat here at the last second, and they'll probably have opportunities to do so. It's just can they finish? Can they cross the finish line with one of these guys?
Yeah, but I got a question, and this is legit, Tristan. I'm not trying to poke, a stick at the cat while he's injured here. But you say they've got people telling Mark that, oh, you can't overpay for this guy, that guy. Mm-hmm. Here's the issue that I see with it. Like, outside looking in, I think all these jokers are overpaid. We'll start with that. But unfortunately, just like with professional sports, which is what this basically is now, the market dictates the price tag. So anybody can sit there and say, oh, well, that guy, we can't pay that guy $3 million, $4 million. That would be overpaying him. But if the market dictates that a point guard is worth 3.5 or a power forward is worth 4 or a big 7'2", rim protector is worth 5, whatever the number is, that's not overpaying.
Yeah.
That's market price. Just like if you go to the seafood market and you want crab. Well, if market price is $22.50 a crab leg, that's what you're going to pay to get it. So if you don't want to pay that, then you're going to settle for Spam. And
all right, we don't have to go from crab leg to spam.
I agree with the premise of what you're saying, but like the Donnie Freeman, I think that's the perfect example for this because Kentucky was really comfortable with him at 3 to 3.2. He went to St. John's and got more. That's great. In the back of their mind was that pay. First of all, he was their number one priority on the board at that point in time, and in terms of that position. But was that $500,000 pay jump worth it in terms of his injury history? And then they also had in the background, like, we have this international option that we could reach to, and Usman Njai, who they were in negotiations with for like a week before he committed. And so it's kind of catch-22, like, you're kind of betting on a guy that you're not sure what's going to be just because the Euro game and how it translates to college. So you kind of save some money there. And then, I mean, last year they did the opposite of that. They're like, I need this guy because the market has dictated this price. I'm going to pay that price. So I think they're kind of, and I think that's one of Mark Pope's weaknesses is you overcompensate in some areas. I think that's one way he's overcompensating. We'll see if it works out or not. But yeah, I mean, last year they went after defensive athletes. I think this year they're really focusing on not overpaying was one of the things. And at the end of the day, we'll see how it works out, what the encore product looks like.
Yeah, one question I have, Rando, take the blue blinders off for a minute. Should your number one prospect, the top player on your board, been a guy that missed half the season last year?
Well, at the 4 spot, and
the 4 and 5, it's just so weak.
Yeah, and so I agree. Here's my frustration.
We already had the 2 guards, I believe, committed at that point. So he really, and Malachi was already announced coming back. You already had Cam and Braden probably in your back pocket, feeling good that they're coming back. So the 4 spot was really the only starting position that was left to be filled. Yeah.
So I guess that kind of U-turns my question back to, so why was the guy that missed half the season due to injury and we're not sure we want to pay him what the market price is going to be? Why was all the eggs in that basket? And I know there was another player that chose to go elsewhere that you guys were really hoping and counting on.
Yeah, Rancic went to FSU. Yeah,
that's not the guy. But
he's talking about Tyron Stokes. Yeah.
Stokes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, dude.
No, look, that's why I didn't say it
without saying his name, and then I was like, I'll just
So, but that's. I mean, again, I'm not trying to pick. I'm just trying to understand this.
You're picking a scab, is what you're doing.
Well, okay, fine.
Him flexing his money though.
Yeah, it's like, so if that's our guy and that's who we want, and then when it comes time to get him, but we can't pay you but this much because you only played 20 games last season or whatever it was. That just, to me, that doesn't seem like a good plan. Like, if that's my guy,
it's just another gamble.
I don't give a damn what he costs. If that's who I want, and that's the position I want to fill, then I've got to do whatever it takes to get him. And then at the last minute, oh well, you missed 25 games last year, so we can't pay you that much. That's a waste of everybody's time.
Though, and I'm assuming most staffs do this. The way Mark Pope and his staff kind of tackle, they have a big board, and they rank them in terms of groupings. And so Donnie Freeman, I know, was in terms of the 4 and 5s, which if you look at the portal's history, that's pretty weak outside of, I mean, Yaxel was your guy you tried to get last year. If there was a huge drop off below Yaxel. And I think they looked at Donnie Freeman in that category in terms of, you had a couple guys here. You had the Montes guy. They ended up going to Arizona State. You had a couple guys there, but Donnie Freeman was really the one that Kentucky zeroed in on. And then they obviously preferred him over Rancic. And Rancic likes the deal to go to Florida State. And I just think there's a priority list. And I think Kentucky, at the price that Freeman wanted, was like, I think moving on to this next priority and maybe taking a gamble on this international prospect was better than paying a premium for a guy that may or may not be healthy.
I don't disagree.
And Tristan,
with that
you can answer
all.
this question is, I think there might have been some feelings hurt. And when you get it, well, correct me if I'm wrong. This is what I heard was they thought they had a commitment. They from the kid's mouth, and then all of a sudden agent kind of playing some games in the background, which is a miss as well. Like, hey, okay, you're inking this thing. We're not taking a handshake. They don't work anymore. And then the agent was kind of playing around, and then all of a sudden St. John's come in. So was it a little bit of that of like, dude, we had a deal at 3.2. Now you're going to get 4. Like, nah, no, thank you. Was that involved in it? Where it's like, all right, if that's who you're going to be, I'll just let you go.
A little bit, and I can't fault the agent because that's the agent's job. If that's my son, like, go get him the most money as you can. Now,
and you're playing for a great coach. It's like you went to a crap program,
and it's right where he's from. And it's
Pitino. Like, Pitino's not. He's had a career of he's not playing by the rules, so it doesn't matter if it's his captain. If he's gonna go, I like that kid, and he wants to kind of skirt the rules and make a bigger offer. That's what's gonna happen. But I just think agents don't play by the rules all the time. Obviously, and most schools don't. And I think Kentucky probably plays by the rules too much sometimes. And I hope to see that change in the future.
Timmer, to your point though, about him being the number one option, I think basketball-wise, like if you exclude the money and the injuries and all those things, I think basketball-wise, like he probably was the number one fit in terms of what he could do off the guards. And then his skill set of his passing, his athleticism, his outside game and shooting, and he has the talent to probably be a first-round draft pick if he puts all the tools together and actually like play serious basketball and winning basketball. But I think he probably was the number one fit because of what he could do alongside Malachi Marino. And you know, like that's the hard part, as well as like, you know, he was the number one priority for Kentucky in that 4 spot for what else was around. Now, that doesn't mean he was the number one transfer portal target, just number one power forward. And I think he probably was because of his game and what the talent he could do. Because if Donnie Freeman would have came to Kentucky, I think he probably would have been that big primarily that we see in that zoom action at the top of the key, running the DHOs, running the ball screens, you know, all of those kinds of things. So
isn't that the same with JQ though? Isn't this just that on repeat? Somebody who's a baller, but you had availability concerns, and then he came in and y'all had
I think you take that risk on a lottery pick. I don't think Donnie Freeman, maybe he gets in the first round, but you take that risk on a guy that's 18 and it's been a lottery lock for the last 2 years. I mean, it didn't work out as we all seen as he's preparing for the draft, and I know that's frustrating people to see how healthy he looks now. But yeah, it's just if you got a prospect like that young, that raw, like you got to take the risk.
No, I understand that, but I guess Freeman didn't work out, but like if you just had this with JQ and it didn't work out with somebody with that type of ceiling, if we're not feeling like Freeman's ceiling is this, then
well, they're a little bit different players. Like JQ is more of that down on the block, like bully ball, you know, kind of like what you see from like Jalen Duren in the NBA, just like effort, like nonstop effort, relentlessness, like dunking, rebounding, blocking shots, physical as hell. Like, but Donnie Freeman's more of that outside, you know, 4 spot, like probably would have been kind of similar to like a little bit different, but kind of like what we saw year 1 under Pope with like Andrew Carr of like just the versatility and doing different things from the perimeter, can shoot it, pick and pop, probably could come off.
He would have been Brandon Garrison, except not as inconsistent, not as much of like great play to holy hell, what are you doing, BG? Like it'd been more consistent
and way more polished, way more developed.
Yes.
Improvement.
Yeah. But I mean, there's certainly questions about, hey, if this was the guy and you know and you went this far into it and then kind of got cold feet because of the injuries, like what was the thought process? We won't know. Tristan, you might, and what, you know, I think I appreciate you giving us what you have so far. But before we get into T's game that he wants to play, I will ask you, it was going to be a 2-part question, but we'll shorten it up since we were coming up on an hour. I know originally you were not a fan. Pope, don't say anything. Wait till mid-May or end May when you do the thing, your press conference. He decides to post a video, take questions, then post a video answering the questions. One, I was surprised, BBN, and the questions that were asked. There were some trolls. There was some, you know, silly stuff on there, but for the most part, great questions. 2, the response and him attacking some of the hard ones. You know, and he didn't give us – he gave us media answers or, you know, PR answers, but at least he answered the questions and he addressed them. What is your thought now that it's over? Right, cat's out of the bag. He did the thing. Did you like it, or do you still wish he would have just stayed silent and waited to the end of the month?
I think I would have preferred him to stay silent, just because I just don't think it looks like it's worked out. But to me, it was a gamble. Like, if you don't have a complete roster, your questions are going to be about three things: last season, which was a disappointment; the recruiting struggles, which have frustrated everybody; and kind of just the outlook on the whole, thing. And Pope's always going to call it beautiful, even when it's not beautiful, to 98% of Kentucky fans. So I think it went as well as it could have. I think just hearing him talk kind of helped a lot of the angst for most Kentucky fans. Now, there's going to be that segment that have made their minds up that you're not going to change their mind, and maybe they'll be right at the end of the season. We don't know. But I do think, in terms of how he handled it, obviously he showed some personality, and some of the questions, like, you going to my wedding, talking about where all he's traveled to. 8,000 miles in the last week. So I do like the fact he took some of the critical questions. You could tell he wanted to talk a little bit more about the Kentucky being taken advantage of on the NIL. I felt like he got. It seemed like they snipped it when he wanted to go a little bit deeper on that. So maybe I would still expect him to have a media presser and just kind of dive into those questions a little bit more. But in terms of kind of when he made the decision to do it, I was like, oh gosh, I don't know how this is going to work. And the national media crushed him. And then I think the response today for most Kentucky fans has been pretty positive. And obviously I think he's going to have another video or two come out. So I think all in all, just hearing him talk, kind of whether it's worthy of doing it or not, has helped calm some concerns, just to hear his perspective on things.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, he's always going to talk, big brain kind of basketball to us. It's like a whole nother level. And it almost seems like he has trouble communicating, but I think his brain just working. He's almost trying to like dumb it down for us. I think it's just how it works. But talk about 30% assist rate and those sort of things. It's like gets people thinking differently. Like, okay, we're kind of getting back to, and Drew and I talked about this. I went on a rant a couple shows back of, I think he just has to come out and tell the fan base direct the narrative didn't match because we had 14 14 of the top 20 freshman recruits this year. But just tell the fan bases, like, hey, watch the Cal era out of your mind. I'm just not that dude. I'm not going to get 3 or 4, 5 4-star guys. It's not how I build rosters, right? I'm going to try to retain and whatnot, which I also think caught Pope flat-footed. We've heard for months now that we were working on multi-year contracts, right? Working on second-year deals, and a lot of those dudes left, whether they were forced out or, they chose to go somewhere else. So, like, he got caught flat-footed there. But if you're just not going to be deep into the freshman recruit thing, just say it, right? And don't bring them on campus. Bring the 1 or 2 dudes you got to have or really want to have. Pay them the money or more money than what they're worth, because that's just, you are worth what someone's willing to pay you, as Hammer was talking about earlier. But just educate the fan base on how you're going to do things, right? Because we saw it, and I think we know in the back of our minds he's not Cal, he's not going to do that, but we still expect it, right? And that's dangerous when we have expectations of you should do this thing, but they're not doing that thing in the offseason, and they're quiet and they're working in silence, and then you see how the narrative just pile up of like, this dude doesn't know what he's doing at all. The Kentucky basketball is lost, and that may not be the case.
I think their attention thing, that's the biggest thing that bit him in the butt this year, just because Colin Chandler was a guy that you thought you had locked up, so that was a loss. But you have several guys like Mo Diabate, Jalen Lowe. You thought those were going to be some key pieces going into this year, and obviously you struck out on your high school recruiting, so you have all these roster spots to fill, and you have one way to do it, and that's through the portal and international recruiting.
Yep. And Coach, I'm not sure how that X Space would pan out, but I would certainly host one for it and just go along for the ride. But all right, team, let's play the game. I know Tristan said he's got to get out of here soon, so let's play this game. I'm curious what you got planned for us.
All right, Tristan. Hammer, unfortunately for you, my friend, this is a Kentucky one for the Blues up top.
It's gonna be good or bad.
The bad guy. No, it's this part is supposed to be fun.
Okay.
And just kind of get you guys on your toes in your fandom. So this one will be keep 3, cut 5, hypothetical trios. So I've built your trios with one player from the 90s, one player from the 2000s, and one player from the 2010s to the present. All right, hypothetical trios, all Kentucky guys. Don't think about what they are in the NBA, though. Think about their time at Kentucky.
And it's keep 3, cut how many?
Keep 3, cut 5. You got
Okay.
eight hypothetical trios total.
All right.
All right, first trio. And obviously, you know, this is Kentucky. So sometimes you can make it tricky and like just throw a little Bammer trio in there. But I try to give you guys like all good trios. So you're really going to have to kind of mind your P's and Q's here. All right, first trio, Monster Mash, Jamal Mashburn, Rajon Rondo, and the Brow.
Oh, and you got to keep it.
We
You
gotta
got to
keep
keep it.
that.
I was say I'm not
Nash-
even gonna lie. Like when you were going through that, I was going through that. That was like one of my first trios. Like
That team
So-
3-on-3 would be nasty. They got everything they need. Oh,
you don't have much shooting there, but in terms of just pure talent, it's gonna be hard to beat that.
mhm.
All
And,
right.
and you got National Player of the Year. I mean, yeah.
AD's sending anything at the rim.
You just, I
And
think you got to
Rondo's
keep that one.
pro-
That's
Rondo's got one of the best basketball minds Kentucky's ever had. So
yeah, I would say that was a
one of the
layup
best
for us.
basketball minds, period.
Yeah.
I hate that he went to Kentucky because I love Rondo. Like I love Rondo, and I'm old enough where I love Monster Mash too. So yeah, it's I tell Rando all the time. There's so many dudes that I hate that they went to Kentucky because I love them as ball players. But
and we got
Rondo,
Chris Lofton. So
there we go. We'll take it. But yeah, Rondo's one of my favorites all time. All right, second trio: Tony Delk, Tayshaun Prince, and Devin Booker.
Oh boy,
I love that.
just because of the
Offensively.
people. Yeah, but the people that are still out there, I don't know. I think we got to
And
cut that one.
Booker's hard to judge. Booker's my favorite player of all time, like that I've got to see his whole career. But I know he was really good in his role at Kentucky, but that's kind of what is for me. Like that's the hard one. I don't mind
Yeah, I think-
cutting that and seeing what's coming up.
I think
Yeah.
Tayshaun's length is the best part of the defense there, and I just don't love that in terms of some of the teams, some of the trios you could play against.
All right,
Yeah.
so we're gonna cut Tony Delk, Tayshaun Prince, and Devin Booker. Next trio: Antoine Walker, John Wall, and SGA.
See, that's the thing. You're talking SGA in college, not MVP SGA.
Correct.
I don't know. SGA in college though, like he earned that
Yeah.
starting spot. We have to make the decision to cut or keep, or can we put one on hold?
No, you got to make the decision without knowing what's coming.
We're gonna get like at
what's
the end of
coming
this,
next.
we're gonna get like Brandon Garrison, like something wild that we're gonna have to keep.
Yeah.
Um,
The only problem is kind of the size. Like there's no big in there, you know.
yeah, I'll have to cut that one.
Yeah, I'll go cut.
Ooh, an all-timer,
Okay.
John Wall.
I
getting
would,
cut.
yeah, I was leaving Keat because of John Wall, but yeah, go ahead.
If you
Go
had
ahead.
a big or something in there, then it like that's why I like the first.
I just
team.
think SGA needs the ball to be effective instead of John Wall. So I just think there's only one ball. You kind of wish you had somebody else that was a little more between SGA and John Wall. There's only one ball to go around. So
All right,
so
Antoine
we
Walker,
kept
John
one,
Wall,
cut two.
SGA getting the boot. Next trio up: Ron Mercer, Chuck Hayes, and Tyrese Maxey.
I think that would be an underrated one.
Yeah, it would.
I'm not gonna say keep, but that would be underrated.
Maxey, Mercer. Who was the middle one?
Chuck.
Chuck Hayes.
Oh, Chuck. Oh boy. Cut. Let's just cut.
That's Ron Mercer is another one for me that I hate that he went to Kentucky, but I love me some Ron Mercer. All right, next trio up: Derek Anderson, Keith Bogans, and Karl Anthony Towns.
Keep.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people don't. Those tubby players, they don't get the respect. And Keith
They
Bogans, I mean, he's 1A or 1B, depending if you want where you want to put Tayshaun. So
Yeah, I hated Keith Bogans.
Yeah.
Keith Bogans, Dude did never miss a shot, and none of his shots were swishes. It would always just bang around on the rim, but it always went in. Like
He's my Tobias Harris, Rando.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a keep. So I think we're doing well so far. We got one more keep. We got 2 more cuts, I think.
That's correct.
Okay, here we go.
That's correct. All right, so you kept Derek Anderson, Keith Bogans, and Cat. Next trio up: Nazir Muhammad, Jody Meeks, and De'Aaron Fox.
That'd be another. That's another underrated one. I might have to go keep on that just because Jody's such a great scorer. De'Aaron's the perfect facilitator, and Nazi's the perfect big. I just think you could probably get another big man with more talent through one of those periods, but I just think fit-wise, for me, that's a keep.
Fox makes bigs better, though, too, because his speed and helping people help over, lobs, dump-offs.
I think that pick and roll.
He was elite with it with Bam, just getting paint touches and getting the bigs to slide over. Yeah, I would keep that one if you guys want to.
Oh, that would end it. I'm good with keeping it. I'm just trying to think. I mean, so like,
or do we roll the dice like we did on Saturday? Do we roll the dice and?
But like, what are the guards that we're missing in like the Cal era? So we got Murray, obviously was great.
Ulyss,
the blue arrow, Ulyss.
What about the twins? I mean, in college though, like they weren't elite, but.
So Ulyss has definitely got to be on T's list. I know Ulyss has got to be on the list, but who would he pair him with?
My worry is I don't know how many I don't know how many Tubby players are left.
Yeah.
I feel like he's got to string the good ones there.
Yeah. All right, I think we're going to end up missing on Tyler Ulyss, but I like this keep. I really do, and I'm nervous to play. And like Bam in college was great. But he's like Bam in the NBA has been like he's a true like stretch guy now, serviceable stretch guy. All right,
Willie's probably still available though.
Willie is, but then you got to take out one of the guards because he's only doing it from the Cal area, basically the Tubby Patino area, and then earlier. All right, we keeping it, shaking our hands, keeping it.
We're shutting it down. So we have kept Monster Mash, Rondo, and the Brow. Great trio. That's one of my favorite players of all time, really, with Rondo. We've also kept Derek Anderson, Keith Bogans, and Cat, which I also think is a great answer. Like, if you're obviously Kentucky fans know, and if you're a basketball fan, you know about Derek Anderson. Like, dude could go. So, good choice. And then we've also kept Nazir Muhammad, Jody Meeks, and De'Aaron Fox. We've cut Tony Delk, Tayshaun Prince, and Devin Booker, Antoine Walker, John Wall, and SGA, Ron Mercer, Chuck Hayes, and Tyrese Maxey, Walter McCarty, Patrick Patterson, and Bam. And then our last cut, Wayne Turner, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, and Jamal Murray.
That last one would have been sneaky good defensively, but I like our three.
I think y'all played it really well. Rando sent me something the other day with some guys cutting some Kentucky dudes, and they cut Michael Kidd-Gilchrist a little too quick for my taste because I think you got to put some respect on his name. He could go.
MKG is to the day my favorite Kentucky player. I love that dude, man.
I wish they wouldn't have butchered his shot in the NBA. I mean, I don't even know what that windup was, but he should have been so much better.
I think y'all played that. I think y'all played that pretty well. It's kind of scary to shut it down when you got two left, but y'all done good.
Yeah, we played that well. All right, well let's and Tristan, man, you're more welcome to hang out with us. I know you said you had a dip. I kept you 11 minutes late, but
no, you're good.
Hang out. We're gonna talk Kentucky hoops, but you can chill or bounce every 2 on 2, man. But I want to thank you. And where can they? Obviously, they know, but the folks watching, where can they find your stuff at KY Insider? Some of the stuff you do for I think Sea of Blue.
Yeah, Kentucky Insider, Sea of Blue. We're on pretty much all socials, both of us. Obviously we're getting into grassroots season now that the portals. So we got some interviews coming with some high school recruits and stuff. So Kentucky basketball never sleeps. So I appreciate.
I didn't know you had a Discord though. How do they find the Discord?
So we have a Discord. It's me and a guy that stays anonymous who's in some NBA circles. If you go through my profile, I have a link somewhere that people can find. but we kind of keep through the season. It's pretty slow. It's just kind of a hangout space that people use, but through the portal and through high school recruiting, it stays pretty active. And we try to the Banner boys, they got started in there. We're talking about it. Somebody's Kentucky's talking to now, so it's been pretty fun. So
awesome, brother. Well, yeah, if you shoot me the link, I'll post this video too, so folks can see it. But man, thanks for jumping on again, and you're welcome whenever you want to. The happy hour shows. I don't know if you're a bourbon guy, but we get a little wild on happy hour shows. You can jump on a Saturday too.
I appreciate you guys having me on. I'll see you next time.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Thanks, Tristan.
See you, Tristan.
All right, so Tennessee lands Juke. Oh, there we go. So we don't say nothing before. Just, hey, babe.
Man, them dudes were some idiots, man. Like,
yeah. These dudes suck. I'm never getting on there again. But all right, so Tennessee, Tristan mentioned it. I mean, absolutely crushing the portal. Get the best get at this late in the portal for Tennessee hoops. I mean, arguably he goes to any team. They're saying he's the best get. I think he was the top portal guard forever and ever. Amen. Since he joined. So how do y'all feel about that? And now that it came out that $18 million roster ish, which potentially will continue to climb, a lot of money spent, but if this is the team that's going to take Rick Barnes' first Final Four, it's worth it. How do you think that the Juke Harris thing plays, and how he fits into this roster? And now, what are the expectations for next season?
go ahead, Hammer.
Well, I think the expectation obviously is to get past the Elite Eight. So that translates into Final Four, national championship contention. So, and that's the reason that this was funded, right? I mean, that's why we spent 18-ish million and possibly still more to spend. Honestly, could care less if they spend $25 million.
Agree with you. Agreed.
Whatever. I mean, just whatever it takes, right? So, a lot of people were saying that when Tennessee landed Terrence Hill, that, there's no way Juke's going to go to Tennessee now, that because they filled his spot, quote unquote, because of Day-Day Ames already being signed. But clearly, that was a plan. I think pretty much all along was Juke. I think we were kind of in the driver's seat with that from jump. And I'm sorry, our coach just showed up and said, "I'm Rick Barnes, bitch," and he went and got who he wanted, just like somebody on this program said back before the portal opened that Rick Barnes was pretty much going to go in, get who he wanted, and leave everybody else the leftovers. So I clearly think that expectations automatically get elevated with not that they weren't already, but I think Juke coming on board, that solidifies it. So, but as T said, and we've all said, I mean, there's been a lot of national champions carved out on paper. So, and it's tough to bank on it and bet on it when you've never done it before. So hopefully this is finally the team that gets the monkey off of not only Rick Barnes' back, but University of Tennessee basketball collectively.
Yeah, I mean, you can't win a championship in May, but you can lose one. And potentially the way Kentucky's roster is going, at least that's how it feels. Because, again, we haven't had that big splash guy. You guys had multiple of them. So you ain't win one now, but you can lose one if you don't put the roster together well. And, we saw it last year. Spent a bunch of money. We're super excited. One piece goes down. One piece never really shows up, and then we just don't get the final product. But T, how do you feel about the roster of Juke Harris? And now you got a bunch of primary ball scorers, like the dudes that were the guy at their school at different levels. Now they got to come together. Now Rick Barnes is a great coach. I think he figures it out. But is it of a concern to you that all these guys were high points per game, high minute usage guys, and they kind of figure out how to play as a team, spread that thing around?
Not as much as everybody's making it seem. So Terrence Hill was the sixth man at VCU. So he might have averaged 16 a game, but he's unselfish enough to not start. So I don't think you're concerned about that. gotten to read some reports about Juke, and all these people at Wake can't stop clamoring about his character, how unselfish he is, and all that. And they said basically he was trying to get all his teammates at Wake, like, yo, shoot more, and they just weren't good enough, and they wouldn't. And so finally Juke was like, fine, man, like you're forcing me to be the alpha. I will be the alpha. So I don't think he'll, from the reports, it doesn't sound like he's going to have an issue maybe going from 20 down to 17 if this gives you an opportunity to compete for a banner. So I think that's going to be okay. Lundblade is an off the ball guy anyway. So I think he's going to, like, he needs people to create for him, and he wants to shoot. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. And I don't know enough about our other guys. Like Harrelson was a really strong ball player at Notre Dame and stuff. So I'm not as concerned about it. And now what everybody's trying to poke at is, hey, everything you've ever done as Barnes is defense, and now you got all these offensive guys. But what I was saying this past season is that we didn't have the defensive caliber talent that we were used to having anyway. Like, we had no elite on-ball defenders. Boswell was a good on-ball defender, but we had no elite ones. Really what it requires to play good defensive team defense is effort. And you already know if you're going to play for Barnes, you are going to give effort or you are not going to play. So I think it can come together, and I don't think it's like the Team USA roster where you just get a whole bunch of talent and throw them out there in 2 weeks. The good news is, we got all the way till November for them to play and get some chemistry, get to know each other, and all that kind of stuff. So I sure chemistry matters, but I think less and less as we see, like, brand new rosters are winning, or large in part are winning championships and stuff. So I'm pretty excited about it. I feel like we have one roster spot left, and we still need that, or I want us to get a 7-footer. From my understanding, that's who we're trying to get with the Favor eBay guy. So I hope we do. That'd be the last part I'd like to see.
That's the kid from Rick Barnes' hometown, right?
No, this is a high school guy.
Oh, okay. Wasn't there a guy you talked about last show from Rick Barnes' hometown out in North Carolina or something?
Yeah, plays at Lenore Ryan. He's one of those 7'2", got 13 consonants, 2 vowels in his name.
Is he not a player anymore? As soon as you said Rick Barnes' hometown, Tennessee, I'm like, that's going to happen regardless.
Well, I just found one in the portal. That was all 100% me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I believe it had me hooked.
That kid just went. He goes to Lenore Ryan. Like he attends college at Barnes' alma mater and hometown. But I don't know that we've seen anything of them being linked. I think Favor eBay is our primary guy that we're trying to get to fill this last spot.
Yeah, we were just talking like there's not too many of those guys out there left, and I just went and found one. It just happened to be from Rick Barnes's
from LR.
Yeah.
Well, you had me convinced. I was like, this cat's going to freaking Tennessee.
Yeah, well, I got some oceanfront property I'm going to look at in Vegas next week, so I'll let you know what kind of deal.
They got beaches out there. They're man-made, but they got beaches.
That is true. And the other thing about, because I like T said, I mean, I've seen it all. Defense is going to be terrible. There's not enough balls to go around. Too many guards. We lost Justin Gainey. Transfers didn't play against good competition. Too many scorers. Like you name it, man. We've seen it. We've heard it. And it's easy to throw all that stuff out there. But here's the thing. It's not like T said. We just didn't go out and pluck the best players because they were the highest ranked. Rick Barnes had multiple conversations with these guys. He's the type of coach that he's going to tell you exactly what your role is going to be, how he envisions you, where you fit in on the roster, and maybe even to the point down to rotation and minutes and things like that. So none of these guys are signing on under a false pretense of I'm going to be the guy. There doesn't have to be a whole bunch of basketballs out there. Last I checked, they only use one in the NBA, right? There's not 5. It's not like there's 5 balls in the NBA that all these guys that score all these points get to play with. There's 1 ball. So I think if anybody is going to be transparent up front and give you a pretty good, job preview before you sign, it's Rick Barnes. So I think all these guys know exactly what they're going to do, where they fit in, what Coach Barnes envisions of how this roster is going to play together. But there's still the chemistry factor. We still got the human factor in there. And again, we're talking about anywhere from 19 to 22, 23-year-old kids, adults, whatever. Not everybody's at the same maturity level. Not everybody's motivated by the same, things. I mean, so yeah, there's still some X factors that have to come to fruition. And again, they've got to get out there on the court and play. But I don't think Rick Barnes set this team up for failure just by getting a bunch of superstars or a bunch of highly rated players. I think he went and got the right players for his system who understand what their role is going to be on this team.
Yeah, I think I don't think they're necessarily have any issues meshing. Hopefully, there was the rumors of the Kentucky locker room, and I guess that could always be a problem. Certain players making more money than others and expectations. Maybe that can be a thing, but this is professional business, and guess what? It's what you're going to – if you go play in the league, that's what it's going to be. You're going to have your super max guys, and then you have your everybody else.
And they all have one thing in common. You know what that was? None of them won a national championship last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious on who, because we talk about this before, like who's the guy they bring in, because you're used to coaching one way, right? And again, this is not poo-poo and Barnes, but you're used to coaching a certain way. So to completely flip the script on how you're going to be, because again, you can't just put all these offensive minded guys. They might be decent, bless you, might be decent defenders. I don't know. I don't, I've not seen the film on this, but the narrative is go get offensive dudes, teach them defense later, which I agree with. But to change who you are as a coach, does it take some ramp up time or just to flip it for a year? I'm curious on how that works. Probably have to have an assistant coach who are helping with that, because there is a fine line, there is a big gap between, which I think this is where Rick Barnes is. So this is why I like your team, but between Alabama, where it's all offense and no defense, chucking up threes, running fast, and each team's going to score 100. It's the first one there wins, to what we've seen at Tennessee at times, where, like Tristan said, 60 points might be all y'all are getting. Now the other team only gets 68, but like your offense. So there's a margin there to find the happy medium of how you get to the rule of 71 and still have an offense and a good defense. But
we saw so many times over the season that Tennessee would get a double-digit lead. I mean, look at both Kentucky games.
Yeah.
Tennessee had double-digit leads in both those games. But we didn't have the scorers to hold those leads. And as T said, and we've talked about it all season, we didn't have the same defenders that we did last year or previous year. Had we had scorers, even another guard, maybe those leads don't disappear. So I think Barnes can cook up a successful team without just exclusively playing defense and score just enough to win. I'm not concerned about that. I'm really not concerned about anything. I think the biggest thing is, what is the impact of Justin Gainey leaving, and defensively, are we going to be able to produce the same kind of result? Because when you look at the tournament against Iowa State, I mean, we just absolutely shut that team down. We absolutely snatched their soul in the second half.
Yep.
This team may not do that. This team may have to outscore other teams when it goes down the stretch. But we couldn't do that this season.
My thought is he's not as inept on offense as people think. I mean, and yes, his focus here has been defense, but don't forget he was at Texas before, and we're offensively driven teams. Like he knows how to draw up offense, he knows how to create offense and all that. And then he's shown how to have some stellar defenses. So I think you're right. Like how do you find that midpoint? but I don't think, he's scratching and crawling and just trying to do everything he can to figure out how to have a high-powered offense.
Yeah,
Well,
PJ Tucker, who's petrified of having the basketball in his hand in the NBA, was like a 23-point per game scorer at Texas. So Barnes can definitely do offense if that's what he's focusing on, and he has now said that that's where his focus is going to be more. His eye of Sauron is shifting. It's like probably going to bounce back between the two now instead of just being on defense.
Yeah, I'll just say this, like, at the same time, you could say what you want about Barnes as an offensive coach, but he, outside of like one or two guys, I mean, he on a team, he hasn't really had like a team full of, we always say coaching matters, but like having the Jimmies and Joes matters too. And he hasn't necessarily had the most offensive gifted or the most proven scorers outside of like one or two guys on a team. Now he has a whole roster to do it. That changes coaches, like, yeah, I mean, he has the players to go out there and do it. You can draw up the best play in the world. If you don't have the players that can execute that play or can create for themselves, it does not matter.
Yeah, well, just look at Michigan last year to this year.
Mm-hmm.
Look what Dusty May did with a roster of scorers, right? Peanut Butter Posse made a good comment there.
Look at how different Kentucky's been in the 2 years under Mark Pope. Year one, we look like an NBA team on offense. Mm-hmm. Year two, we look like a JV team playing offense because the only thing that Kentucky could really run was a pick and roll, a high pick and roll with Denzel Aberdeen or an Otega Owe isolation from the wing or the top of the key, unless Kentucky found a way to score in transition. That's pretty much it. And then you had different things off of that, like Colin Chandler hitting threes and stuff. But year one's offense, there was 50 different actions that Kentucky was running, and then the players themselves were running actions off of that with Kobe Bryant, Andrew Carr, and Amari Williams, all those guys. So the players matter. Year one, we thought Pope was the most genius offensive-minded coach in basketball history. And then in year two, we're like, fire this guy because Kentucky can't score and the offense is terrible. So having the players matters. Tennessee has the players offensively to go get buckets and score.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and PB Posse here made a point about Kentucky made those comebacks by calling audible at halftime. Yeah, they did, but just go back and look at the box score. Look what Tennessee shot in the first half versus what they shot in the second half.
Yeah,
I was just have one or two guys out there consistently scoring. We had two consistent scorers all year. That was Jacoby Gillespie. That was Nate Ament. And then somebody occasionally, a Jalen Carey, a Felix Okpara, might step up and have a 12, 15-point game. But other than that, we had two dudes that scored. We didn't even have a second shooting guard even appear in the season until the tournament. So, all the X's and O's, but you said it, you got to have the Jimmies and Joes. And
I was
got
at
Jimmys and Joes and Freds and Horaces and Elmers, and we got them all now. So I see no downside to how Rick has constructed this roster, other than what Joshy Boy said, and we've identified that as the defense probably isn't going to be as good. It's not going to be as intense as lockdown. But again, you're not going to play. You're not going to be on the floor for Rick Barnes if you don't play defense.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I think the defense will take a little step down, not because of our effort or even what we do on the perimeters, because we don't have Felix Okpara back there to erase some stuff. Because think about how many times dudes got blown past and Okpara just comes out of nowhere and just swats something. So again, we didn't have the stellar defense individually talented wise that we're used to having. So I really, whatever fall off that we have, I think it's going to be because if we don't get an Okpara replacement, not because of losing what we lost on our perimeter, because nobody was locked down out there. So I don't think it's going to be as negatively impacted as everybody thinks. And where the impact will come is because of Okpara, not because of us having these more offensive minded guys. And then yes, he has the X's and O's. As I mentioned before, he proved that when he was at Texas. He built Tennessee differently than he did Texas, but he's at least shown that he had it.
Yeah, that's why I've been so loud about getting that 7'2" European lurch or whatever, is because we got to have somebody that, if all else fails, we at least can contest at the rim.
Well, and I'll just say this too: when you're talking about March and making it on deep runs and stuff, like you've seen it from Houston too. Like Tennessee and Houston have pretty much been identical programs. Outside of Houston's had, some high draft picks or whatever, but you've seen it from both teams. They've both been knocking on the door, and I know Houston just played for a national championship last year, but you've seen it at times throughout the last 8 years with Tennessee and Houston. You get to a certain point in the tournament and you have to have offense to get yourself over a hump. Yes, defense is so important. You have to be able to play defense to win a national championship, to make a Final Four. But you have to have offense, especially with certain matchups. And as those games go on and teams start to lose it defensively in March Madness games because you're gassed, the pressure gets you, you're mentally drained, you're all, there's so much going on. And you got to be able to score in those crunch time moments. And if you only have one or two guys offensively, at some point you're just going to hit a wall. And also scoring in the tournament is also very, it's hard to do it at a consistent basis because of, you're playing new teams that have no idea who you are. You don't know what they run. There's different matchups. We talk about the inflated balls and how shooting can be all crazy in March Madness. Like, you got to have multiple options. And I think we've talked about it on this show before. Like, that's been Tennessee's downfall when they get to the tournament, is they run into a certain situation in the tournament where they just can't score enough.
That's it, 100%.
Preseason wise, they've addressed that. Now we got to see it on the court, but they've at least addressed the area that they've needed to address to help them get over that Elite Eight hump.
Yeah, I think the way this roster constructed, what I would be excited most about as a Tennessee fan is, we've talked about it for 2 years since we've been doing this, or coming up on 2 years, is how many times, especially last year, and this was at your most important position at point guard, is I got a dude who has to play 37, 38 minutes a game. And now you got Juke, who can probably play 30 a game if Day is just serviceable, right? And he's probably going to give even more minutes. So now you have a way to rotate the roster to where you can lean on Juke for 38 minutes a game in SEC tournament play and NCAA tournament play when you need to, and not throughout the entirety of the season, and have those games, those mental lapses you saw. Jacoby was great, but there were times where just the fatigue got him. Late turnover against Kentucky that just mattered. Defensive lapse late because he's just fatigued. Now, again, some of those things might drop off, but the rotation is going to be maybe not deeper as far as players, but deeper with minutes and minutes managed. And it's going to be better for roster construction that way if these guys are serviceable like we expect them to be. And there's not such a massive drop off between Juke, who I imagine will be the starter, and Day who will come off the bench for him. But that's how I see it constructed. Yeah, you don't have that rim protector, but from your guard and wing spot, you have dudes who can play 38 minutes a game if you have to, but really they can average 25 to 32, and other guys can come in there and put in relief.
Yeah, and having more than one guy you can trust with the basketball is going to be a huge benefit too, because we all know when you get to the big dance, it's all about guard play. So,
Randall, pop Dougie Hudson's comment up. I just answered it, but yeah. I'll answer it for him. I just said it like 5 minutes ago. Like, we talked about it, with Kentucky, and it pertains to Tennessee as well. Like, all Kentucky called Coach Pope the most genius basketball mind, offensive mind in basketball history year one. And then you saw it year two. We couldn't do it because the Jimmies and Joes haven't been there. Coach Barnes hasn't had enough talented scorers who can score on the ball, off the ball, run different actions. If you're a coach, you can be the greatest coach in the world. You can call the best play possible. But at the end of the day, players have to go make plays. Tennessee has players who can now make plays. And Kentucky has to get back to that. You saw year one, it was different, running DHOs, the zoom actions, the staggers, the pin downs. Year two, it was literally a pick and roll up top with Denzel Aberdeen or an Otega Owe isolation. And then from there, it's just like guys playing off. So,
yeah, we didn't have the point guard, right?
We didn't
have the dude. As soon as J-Lo goes down, you don't have somebody. I mean, this is one thing. I think we had the players. I truly do. You're not going to convince me that Denzel Aberdeen isn't a good player. If he was playing the wing like we thought, if he was playing that 2-3 role, again, Colin Chandler stepped up big. If he would have been in the 6-man role, I think he would have played even better, and he probably would have stayed because of, we would have been like, he's worth the extra money to pay him instead of going to BYU. Everybody was playing outside the role. You had, like you said, iso ball with Otega Owe. He's a big guy who can get downhill. But was he the best ball handler? We saw, in late game situations, bouncing off his leg. He's not so. I mean, he got lucky they didn't call every single crossover a carry. Like, he's just not the best ball handler. So everybody was playing.
Neither was Colin. Neither was Colin.
No, he wasn't. And yeah, bringing the ball up, and then Jasper having to play point guard. That wasn't him. He's an off the ball guy. He certainly wasn't a great ball handler, and he wasn't great under pressure. So everybody was out. It was the depth. It was the mishandling of not being able to get a Caden Lewis replacement, or just being like, hey, dog, you ain't leaving. We'll pay you some extra money, but whatever. I know Pops is in trouble. You're not going away. We need you. We let him walk because Pope was doing the good guy thing. That doesn't play in college basketball most of the times.
Well, and unfortunately, like, when you're Coach Pope, you don't expect a shoulder injury to literally derail the entire season of Jalen Lowe in the blue-white scrimmage game. I mean, you had J. Lowe. Obviously, you intend your players, if they're healthy, to play every game. Jaden Quaintance was really the only one that was a worry. You had Aberdeen, who showed some combo guard. And preseason-wise, you had a 5-star combo guard freshman in Jasper Johnson. And unfortunately, like, it just didn't work out that way. So, at the end of the day as well, like, we could put the blame on Pope for letting a Caden Walker not fulfilling that spot. He had these options in Aberdeen who showed he could play point guard a little bit at Florida, but more off the guard. And Jasper showed abilities in high school that he could play on ball. At the end of the day, like what we're talking about with the Jimmies and Joes for Kentucky just didn't do what they were expected to do last year, which obviously hinders the success that you can have.
Yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. We'll talk about Saturday happy hour. Hammer's going to be in Vegas getting potentially hammered at happy hour in real life in Vegas. But we'll jump on here. We'll get some show. Let me know if there is a orange replacement that wants to jump in your spot. And then next week we'll figure it out. Like I said, I will be gone, but we'll figure out the show. But looking forward to doing the happy hour deal. Thanks for everybody jumping in the chat. Peanut Butter Posse has been coming a regular, so shout out. They taking some shots at Tennessee fans, so needed that now, especially since Hogball, who it looks like he disappeared, but he went on his own little roast fest when Tristan was getting started. But we'll see y'all Saturday. Before we go though, repping State Line. Tristan had on the denim tradition. I got on the Feed the Studs, and T's got on his Tennessee hat there. You can go to that QR code, all UK Ball 25, get 25% off State Line Co. And then I got sent another shirt from Gary. Shout out. I haven't had actual just Bluegrass Elite stuff, so he sent this to me. To go to that QR code, Heavy Pours 15, get you 15% off, free shipping, and then I'll show you the Feed the Stud jersey on Saturday. I do got to do a giveaway for that. But gents, I appreciate it joining me. We'll see you all on Saturday, and we'll do another last call. Have a good one. Play another game. Have some good time, this time over a cocktail on a non-school night. But as always, I always forget to do this. Please go follow the YouTube channel. We're growing that thing. We had our first 1,000K viewed within 24 hours. That's massive for us. But our subscribers are still at 120 something. Let's get that thing up. I would really, really appreciate it. Help us get the word out. If you like the show, go follow Heavy Pour Sports on YouTube, Heavy Pour Sports on TikTok, and then Border Rivals HPS on X. But as always, go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Big Orange.
Go Balls. Tobias Harris rules.
Tobias Harris sucks. Peace. Play to